Perfect. All right. So taking a step back, guys, like I said, when we're talking about SMS and email templates, we need to be in our settings. And from here, we need to look for the communication settings or tab. Once we're here, we can now see the two tabs that I was talking about, the email templates and the SMS. So to start off with the email templates, there's going to be two sections that you're going to be presented with. We're going to have the custom email templates, which are the ones that you're creating. And then we have the system email templates, which are the ones that we provide as defaults within the system. So to start off with, if we want to edit one of the existing templates, it's very simple. We just look for the template that we need and we click on the blue pencil icon right here, and that's going to take us to the actual email editor. Couple of things that we can see here, guys, the actual editor over here on the right hand side, and then some settings for the actual template itself. So we can see email template kind, template name, recipients, subject, then attachments, and variables. The template kind, this is depending on what this template's going to be used for. Here it's grayed out, but when you're creating a new one, you have many options to choose from, which is something that I'm going to be showing in the next couple of steps. Moving forward, we have the email template name. So this is a quick way to identify what the purpose and use of this template is. And this is also a great way to understand if this is going to be a template specific to a project type or a job type in the case that we're going to be getting, very in the weeds when it comes to creating content. This is something that's only internally facing, meaning that customers will not see the name of the actual template that you give it. However, if we talk about maybe the subject, then this is something that the customer would see because this does make part of the actual email template itself. Um, Taking a step back, we have recipients. Within recipients, if you click on the box, it's going to provide a couple of options. Those options are always going to be tied to the users in the system. So that's why we see a list of people down here. And then we see these other options at the top that look a little bit odd, right? This is what we call here in Supermove variables. And what's a variable, guy? This is a dynamic way to include information from a project or from the system in either the actual template itself, or in this case, for recipients. So if I choose, let's say, salesperson and customer, what this does is whenever I send this email out to a specific project, it's going to use the customer's email and the salesperson that's assigned to that project, their email as well. And that's going to end up being the recipients on this template. When it comes to variables in the actual template or the body of the email or the SMS or the document, it's a little bit more different, right? It's not so dynamic like it is over here. However, this still is extracting information from the project itself. So in this case, this one's giving a great example. It's taking the contact full name from the project that this is being sent on, and it's going to automatically include that in this section right here. On our end, it looks a little bit funky, obviously, because we have the variable. But obviously, on the customer's end, they're going to see their name or essentially whatever you guys put in the first name field. Moving forward, once you've made the edits that you need to this already existing template, all we have to do is click Save in the top right corner, and we're good to go. If we want to create a new one, pretty simple. We click the big blue button in the top left, and from here, we fill out everything that we saw on the other email template as well. So here we can choose the email template kind. Like I said, there's many different kinds depending on whatever the case or flow for this template is going to be. Let's keep it simple. We're going to use the custom email template. Template name, can just do test, very simple. Recipients, we're going to do the customer. Subject line, just test to keep it simple as well. Now, attachments. This isn't something that I covered previously, but these are the attachments that were uploaded to the document section. I'm about to show you where this actually lives. And this is pretty much just a library that you're going to have access to whenever, let's say a document's going to use an attachment or a PDF tied to it. So for example, if this email template that you're creating is intended to have the installation services as one of the actual documents or attachments on the email itself, we can add it here, and that's going to be included once this email sends. If we don't need it, we can just trash can it and keep this email template blank. And then moving forward one more time, we have variables. Here we have the search for all the variables that are currently available in the system. It's a very extensive list, guys, so there's many things that you can find in here. And remember, all of this is typically tied to information found on the actual project itself. Variables are almost the same as billing values when we're looking at the invoice as well, right? Because a variable is essentially a billing value also. It can get a bit confusing, guys, but with a little bit more explanation and throughout this webinar, we're going to be, getting a clearer idea of how to use them and what's the expectation behind them. For now, guys, one recommendation I do give is to be very specific when you're searching for your variables. For example, let's say I want the contact's first name, or maybe not first name, the full name. That's my first search, right? I'm going to put full name, and I can see that we have a variable that's going to extract the contact's full name. If I want first name, then that's what I'm going to use to search. I'm going to use first in this case and the name, and then I can see contact first name comes up. But this is also a good example because it shows that other variables can have that same word and it's also going to show up as a suggestion when you search for it. So that's why being very specific here is very important. So that way we're choosing the correct variable and we're inputting the correct information in our templates. Moving forward, guys, in the email editor or template area that we have here, this is very similar to like Gmail or Yahoo or Hotmail, depending on what you guys use for your emails. You're able to edit the size of the actual letters or like font that you have here. You're able to bold, italicize, underline, hyperlink, numerate, and also input bullet points if you want to add a little bit more of customization to the email template itself. Something that we do offer as well is HTML. So if you know about HTML or if you have somebody creating HTML emails or content for you guys, you can switch the actual editor from HTML from let's say just normal text to HTML, paste your code here, and you're good to go. Once you have the code pasted here, you can actually preview what that would look like on the customer's receiving end as well. And once again, guys, most important thing when we are done editing emails or creating our templates is to click create or save in the top right corner. So that was email templates. Now we're going to move on to SMS. And one thing here, guys, remember if you have any comments or questions, please use the QA button at the very end, at the very bottom of your screen. And remember that near the end of this, we're also going to have time specifically dedicated to Q&A. All right, moving forward. So now that we reviewed email templates, SMS templates are going to look like a walk in the park because these have very, very minimal setup compared to the email templates themselves. Some cool functionality that we have here, guys, is whenever we click on any of these SMS templates, it's going to give us a preview on the right-hand side. And all the logic that I mentioned previously for email templates applies here. So if we want to update an existing template, we click on the blue pencil icon, and that's going to take us to the template itself. Now that we're here, we can see that there's only three things we have to fill out. A template name, which once again is not seen by the customer, so be as creative as you want here. Template type, which is pretty much telling us if this SMS is going to a customer, your movers, or anybody in the office. And then the actual body of the email. This is much more basic than the email editor. Here, you're not able to do HTML. Here, you're not able to add attachments or anything of that sorts. This is pretty much just plain text. However, variables are still an option as well. And this is a great example because here we see the use of two variables. The contact first name, which is a pretty basic one, but we also see the quote URL. So if we input URL right here in the variable search box, we're going to see that we have a couple of options to offer. We have the document flow URL, confirmation URL, project URL, and quote URL. So some of these are intended to be sent to the customer, like some are intended for the office members. The project URL, that's typically intended for the office members because customers don't really know what a project is. But in this case, if you want to send your customers the link to their quote via SMS, this is how we would be able to achieve that. We get this request quite often, and this is essentially the way we would have to set this up. We would also accompany this with an automation that would automatically send up, but that's for a different webinar. For now, just letting you know that there's different links that can be inputted into these templates, not just SMS, but email templates as well, that can redirect the customer to wherever we want to take them. Once again, guys, once we made the edits that we need to any of the existing templates, we click update in the top right corner and we move along. Now, that was updating a existing template. Now what we may want to do is create a custom template. So we just click the blue button in the top right corner and we see the same as before, the three sections we need to fill out. So here, all we do is fill out the template name, make sure that this is being selected for the specific person or making sure the recipient in this case is selected correctly. And then inputting the actual body or template that we're going to be sending out for this SMS. Keeping it basic here, guys, just going to put in test, and that's pretty much it. Oh, there we go. That's pretty simple. So we kind of flew by these guys because that was the intention. These are very simple to create and explain and set up. Now what we're actually going to dedicate a good chunk of this call to is documents, because this can be a little bit more complex and there's just a bit more into this when it comes to creating documents versus creating email templates or SMS templates. So again, some of the logic that I explained previously on the other pages also applies here. If I click on any of the existing documents, it's going to show me a preview on the right-hand side. From here, I can see what this looks like. You're going to see that there are some things that look a little bit funky. They don't look as expected. Again, this is expected to look like this on our end because we're the ones seeing, the variables, the different blocks that we input for like the logo and stuff like that. But the customer is going to be seeing, your actual logo, the actual business name, their actual information tied to their project in the system in these sections right here. Now, if we're going to be editing an existing document, we're going to go ahead and click once again on the blue pencil. Oh, actually, taking a step back, shot myself in the foot there. If we want to edit the actual document template itself, what we need to do is the following. We need to click on it, and then once we click on it, we click Edit Template in the top right corner. Now that we clicked on this, we're actually seeing the document itself. And from this point on, we can start to modify it. My recommendation is to always base yourself off the document or click on the document to go to the section that you're looking for. Because if we look at it from the left-hand side, it's a little bit more complicated because documents in our system, they're created based off of different sections. And these sections have to be inputted into the actual document itself, right? So we can see there's a section for the header. If I click on this, it's highlighting this over here. Then we have a section for text, which is literally just the confirmation name. So this is why it's important to use the right-hand side or the actual template over here of the document to take you guys where you want to go. So if I know I want to update this rate section right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this and it's going to automatically send me to that section. And here in the middle, I can now actually update the information and change it to, whatever it is that I need. Once again, the use of variables is very important here, guys. I think this is where you would most likely be using variables because this is where, you really have to input, customer information, project information, maybe billing information like the one that we see here. This is actually a great example. So if we look at this box that says billing information, we can see that this isn't a variable. This is actually a section that we input to the document itself. If we wanted to input that billing summary into one of our documents, what we have to do is we have to locate this add item section on the far left-hand side. And here, what we would do is we would look for it just like that, billing summary. And we click on this. If I click on this, it's going to add another section right there at the very bottom. All right. It's always expected, guys, that whenever you add a new section, it's always added at the very bottom. But we have these little dots over here on the right-hand side that allow you to click and drag these sections to wherever it is that they should be, like so. For now, since this is a section that I actually do not need, I'm going to click on these three dots and click where it says remove item. And yeah, just once again, guys, the main thing here to reiterate is using the template as your guide, right? If I need to be in a specific section or I need to update a specific section, it's best to actually click on it than looking for it on the left-hand side, since on the left-hand side, once again, it can be a little bit more cumbersome. Again, once we've made edits to any of the existing content that we have here, guys, we're going to click publish. And this actually takes me to the second thing. So here in this section of the system, guys, when it comes to creating documents, you can save things as a draft, right? Maybe something that you're working on that you're halfway through that you didn't complete fully. You can save that as a draft, and that's not going to be public. It's not going to be something that everybody can see, and most importantly, it's not going to be a document that can be mistakenly sent to a customer. That's the main thing we want to avoid here. If this is now a document that has the green light and it's good to be used and sent, we can now click publish, like I said. So click publish the second time, and that saved any and all changes that we made. Coming back to the second part of now documents, now we're going to want to create one. So when we create it, we're going to click on the create template option in the top right corner. We're going to be shown this little side menu where we're going to input the name that we're going to give this document, a description if necessary, the document category. This is very important, guys, because here we choose if this is going to be a job related document or if this is going to be specifically an invoice. We're going to choose job for now. We have this other option right here that says email this document to customers at the end of a move. If it's toggled, that means it's going to be emailed. If it's untoggled, then we're pretty much excluding that from said email. And we have two other checkboxes. We can either set this template for as a default for confirmations, and we can also do the same for quotes if this is intended to be a quote or confirmation related document. For now, we're just going to leave everything as is, and we're now going to click create. So here what we are seeing, guys, is a completely blank slate, a completely blank document. We're going to go ahead and start off by looking into the add items. So here we have many different options for you to choose from. Um, Starting from the very top, we have like document elements. This is kind of the main ones I would say you guys would be using because this is where we're able to get the header, the logo, any images that we're trying to add to documents, and most importantly, the text blocks. These text blocks are where we're actually able to input the information that we want on said document. This is where we are able to choose the different types of variables that we want to be shown on this document as well. And like I said, this is going to be one of the sections that's going to be most added to your document templates. We can go through these just to see kind of what they look like on this end. So here we have the header and the logo. These are typically used at the very beginning or at the start of the document. So remember, you can move these around in case you added them, somewhere along the middle of the document itself. And then looking forward through the items that we have here, moving away from document elements, we have inputs. So these inputs, guys, this is when we want to show like a list, something that the customer maybe has to sign off on or check off on. Let's say you have valuation options, right? Those valuation options you would input as like a multiple choice input. So that way they have those different choices and options to choose from on the document when they receive this or whenever they're seeing these. Remember, documents are viewed in two moments, guys. Whenever you send a confirmation or a quote, and whenever the crew is on site with the customers. And everything that I'm explaining right now in terms of these different input options, they're both available in both views, right? If the customer is viewing it via confirmation, they'll be able to edit these inputs via that confirmation. If they're looking at it via the tablet with your movers on site, right there on the tablet, they would be able to edit that information and make the corresponding inputs when they're signing the on-site documents. So coming back to adding items within inputs, we understand that this is, when we want customers to be able to input different options within documents. We also have signatures. So this is specifically when we want a customer to sign off on. So a great example is the confirmation letter. We know that on the confirmation letter, we need the customer signature. So that way we understand that they want that move to be booked. So we have a couple of options to choose from when it comes to these signature inputs. We have the generic signature. This is for essentially anybody that is on site and needs to sign. Maybe it's a second party, who knows, emergency contact, whatever the use case can be for this. Then we have the company signature, which is, let's say, a crew member that needs to sign the document alongside with the customer. And then lastly, we have that customer signature box. So with that being said, depending on how you want to set up the signature sections in your documents, we can choose from these three. Once again, to just understand the difference between customer and company, customer is obviously for your client, so that way they sign that directly. It's going to have their name inputted above the signature. And then we have the organization signature, which is typically used for the movers if movers should be signing documents as well. That could be like a liability form. Going into valuation coverage, this is similar to the other inputs that I mentioned above. This one specifically for valuation coverage. So if we want the customer to be choosing valuation coverage on this specific document, these are the inputs that we're going to be using on the document itself. Again, this is typically used on like the confirmation letter. So that way the customer, when they're confirming the move, can choose whatever valuation coverage you guys offer them. We have billing, the billing summary that we saw in the previous document. This is exactly the same one. This is for the customer to be able to visualize whatever the bill looks like on their current project. Again, this one is typically used on the quote, confirmation letter, and any invoices as well. Moving on, we have equipment and materials. Equipment and materials, this is tied to a specific section of the project. It's not a section that's widely used at the moment, but it's near the invoice in the actual project itself. So if you were to add any materials or equipments to that section specifically, and we were to have this incorporated in one of the documents, the system would extract that information and add whatever is shown there on the document based off of this input itself. And then lastly, guys, one of the most used inputs that we have, which is the timesheets. This is used to show essentially, what the movers did on the actual job site itself. It's going to extract the timesheet that they filled out on the crew app, or if maybe the office filled it out in the office app, it's also going to extract it from there and place it on the document so that way the customer can sign off on it. Places that I've typically seen this, guys, it's been mainly used like on a BOL or your final invoicing, and something that's the customer is typically signing off on, just confirming that yeah, that was the amount of work that was done, the amount of hours, break, drive time, etc., that was accomplished during that specific job. And again, guys, nearing the end here, once we've completed documents that we want to have in the system, after we've created all the different sections, inputted all the different text that we need, we now click publish, in this case, if it's a document that's ready to go and to be used in the system. One thing I do want to address, which is kind of, I would say, the elephant in the room, is this import templates button. This is something that you guys will not see on your end. This is something strictly on our end. And we do have like a library of documents that we can add to your guys' section in the case that, maybe you're looking for a specific document that we can, maybe bring onto your actual account. Um, Couple of other best practices, guys, when it comes to documents, SMS, and email templates. If you're struggling with variables, please reach out to support. Sometimes the variables descriptions, they're not going to give the full scope of what information is actually included with them. So that's why I do recommend reaching out to support, asking about, hey, I'm looking for a variable that does this. We'll then let you know which one to choose if it exists, or if we maybe need to create an improvement request to have that incorporated in the system. And with that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and take some time for Q&A. So we will be answering questions live. Any comments or questions that you do have, please leave them in the Q&A section down below, and we will be discussing them at this moment. Thank you very much for your patience, guys. Appreciate your attention.